So I'm currently sitting in the very southwest of Finland in the very beautiful archipelago. And I'm very fortunate to be in a place like this for what will end up an entire week, especially as someone who's only attempting wildlife photography for literally the second time. My girlfriend and I, we arrived a couple of days ago, and as you can imagine, I was pretty excited to go out and photograph. So we did take a little bike trip. I didn't film an entire video, but I'm going to cut in some of that footage for you now. We did come across some cows. I understand that those aren't exactly wild, but they're actually kind of rare in Finland. I grew up in New Zealand and seeing cows was, a daily occurrence essentially. But there's not a lot of them in Finland, so it was actually kind of nice to come across them for myself, and took a few photos here, which I think are actually quite beautiful. Of course, they have the air tags in, they're not wild, but they're farmed cows, I guess. But there's a couple of calves there. It was just a nice experience. And they were just kind of too adorable to not include here. We also came across some deer, which is actually very commonplace in Finland, but it's something that I haven't photographed yet. And it might not be very exciting to other wildlife photographers because, in a lot of places they're very common. But for myself, it's very exciting to basically just photograph any animal that I haven't photographed yet. And I'm still looking for what would essentially end up an amazing photograph of a deer, but just to get that close. And we sat there for a while and we heard the noises that they were making. My GoPro, being a GoPro, is being a complete POS and cutting out whenever it feels like it. So I didn't capture everything, but you're looking at a bit of the footage and a couple of the photos that I got there as well. There was a female deer there and a young male by the looks of it. And it was pretty exciting just to watch them up pretty close. We also came across some cranes, which is something, I haven't photographed. I knew that they were in Finland. I wasn't completely aware that they were out here in the archipelago, but that was amazing. They were kind of aware that we were approaching as we spotted them, basically. So they started to move and fly out, and I didn't get the greatest shots. So I was kind of rushed. I tried to photograph as fast as I could while they were kind of leaving, and it didn't end up with too much, but it's one of my goals for today, is I'm actually going to go and return to that same spot and try to get a better photograph of them. What I did capture is my girlfriend here being very excited about what we just saw and heard. They made some pretty amazing noises on the way out. I wasn't aware that they were so loud. That was very cool to hear. She was very excited, so that was probably my favorite part, is just capturing her there. Super stoked, as was I. And of course, definitely as expected, we came across plenty of rabbits. I don't know if this is a rabbit or a hare, actually. I should look that up. And also some squirrels. There was a very inquisitive squirrel who was quite curious about us as we were riding past on our bikes. But ultimately, the main goal, as always, and has been why I started this form of photography, is just to get out into nature and go explore and learn more about the nature, learn more about the Finnish nature. Being an immigrant here, I'm not completely connected to the forest, and it's one thing that's very important to me and was important to me growing up in New Zealand. And I'm out here trying to do that now and capturing photos along the way. So I hope you enjoyed that footage. That was from a couple of days ago. Yesterday was a rain day. We just stayed in, we had a sauna and everything was very beautiful. But today we're actually going to head out probably in a couple of hours. We're going to take another bike ride. The bikes really allow us to get around these islands quite quick. So we're going to try to hit a few spots. We're going to try to get a little bit further and see some bodies of water that we didn't get to the other day. And we're actually going to return to a few spots that we felt like were pretty nice for coming across animals and having a little spot to sit down and hide and hopefully capture something nice for you. We saw a fox today also. I know there are snakes out here. I have seen a snake out here in the past when I didn't have my camera. So I'm picking up these little things. I'm starting to learn what is actually out here. I know there's sea eagles, which is I think the biggest bird in Finland. That would be amazing to capture. They're very common in this area as far as Finland is concerned. And there's also a number of owls and different seabirds and stuff like that. So there's a lot to capture. If we get lucky enough, we should be able to find some of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get and presenting it to you. So without further ado, cut to the bike ride in a few hours. turns out coming back to the spot was definitely the call. It's this field behind me yesterday where we saw the cranes and where I'm seeing them again now. I don't know if you can see them from this lens out in the field there, but there's 5 of them now. 3 when I arrived and 2 just landed. There's also what I believe to be our northern lapwing, kind of dive bombing them for some reason. Looks like it's just kind of being a pain in the ass. And hopefully I was able to capture a bit of that on the camera too. Also, just as I was pulling in here, I did see a deer scatter off up in the forest, so I might try to track that one down also. I got a few shots there, which you would have seen already. I think I'm going to try to get a little bit closer on that side of the field. It's pretty open. It looks like maybe there's a bit of a ditch, so I don't know how close I can get with before I scare them off. But I'm going to try now that I think I've got as much as I can probably get from this distance, so let's go check it out. Okay, well this was most definitely the spot. That was very fruitful. At some point I had 5 or 6 cranes, a deer, a northern lapwing, which you might have just heard just there, and a hare or a rabbit, all in the same frame. So it was definitely the spot for a bit of a meetup. Felt like some sort of Star Wars bar for all the animals. But just where I am now, just on this side, there is a little creek, and a deer at least had come down to have a little bit of a drink. And I think what I'm going to do now is get out of this spot. I think I've exhausted it for now. I'm going to go back up into the main road, head a little bit further down, and I believe that there should be some sort of body of water. On the map it doesn't really show as a lake, but more of like a wetland or maybe a swamp. So I'm going to go check that out. I mean, sounds like a good place to find some animals. Let's see. Okay, hopefully this audio is good enough. I haven't really tested the GoPro just on its native mic, but I took a little off-road, which I thought would land me out to where the water is, and I was right. It's just through here. You probably can't see very well on the GoPro, but the water's there, but it's surrounded by these really tall reeds. So actually if I go down to the tree line, I can't see anything. And the ground is really wet, so I can't go through too much of it either. There is the other side. I might try to get around there. So I made it out to the water. Although it's a very beautiful spot, it's also pretty quiet. And at this point, I've gone pretty far. I'm probably a little bit out of breath because I've been cycling up a surprising amount of hills on these islands. And as you can probably tell by now, if you watch this far, my girlfriend didn't actually come with me. She stayed back at the cottage to mow the lawn. So now it's my duty to go home before the sun goes down and cook us some dinner. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the photos and the footage. I certainly had a great day. I've also got some ideas already for the video that I'm going to film tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. There's that and many more things that are photography related that I'll bring to this channel, so if you enjoyed it, please do subscribe. And if there's any professionals out there that have got some tips for me on this whole nature wildlife thing, please do let me know, because I'm still very much an amateur and I'm finding that out as I go. But I'm having a fun day, and some of the most fun I've had photographing in a long time, actually. So until next time, peace.